Vegeta, stop. Chill out. All right, everybody. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day so far. Oh my god, my music's so loud in my headphones. Hold on. There we go. Okay, I apologize there. I got blasted by my own music. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna see if we can maybe do some adjustments to uh, my um, schedule image. Yeah, that's what I'm doing today. Uh, anyway, let me go ahead and pop on over here so you guys can see. So this is the current image that I have for like my schedule. While I suck at graphic design, this isn't too terribly bad. I think what it needs is probably some more contrast, maybe some darker colors, and then I was gonna draw a new picture of myself because this one's kind of dated. So I was gonna stick something else in there. I do kind of like my shapes and stuff that I have. I think what I mostly need to change is like colors and whatnot. So it's like more readable. I think is what I believe I need to do here. Again, I'm not like really like good at graphic design here. So all right, so that's the portrait. So it's in a circle with that. Let me see. Nope, it's all together. Okay, so we're gonna have to do a we're gonna do a new little image over here. I think what I need to do too is maybe put this somewhere else and maybe slide these like over. That might be good too. So let's do that. Let's figure some of the we're gonna figure out like the layout. I think first would be the best thing. So yo, what's up, Windseeker? How you been, man? I haven't like heard from you in forever. Like, I thought you were dead, man. Like Snake Plissken. Scribbles in MS Paint. Hey, I actually have some artists in my art share now that do like insane shit in MS Paint. Like, apparently it's like legit now, which is crazy. All right, let me see. Where is this? I need to figure out what that is. Text backdrops. Okay, so that's all those. And oh wait, that's like all of them. Okay. So let me boot this so I can see my Twitch here. By the way, I tried to add a sound effects thing for you guys to be able to play with, so I don't know if you guys had that available or not, but I tried my best. Oh, this is like stuff to make that darker. So let's do that, and then oh, god damn it, these are all all of them have been flattened. All right, fantastic. So I'm gonna have to redo all of that, which is fine. Portrait reticle, that one's okay for now. Background elements. Okay, so that's those. All right, yeah, we're gonna have to do some just a bunch of things in general here. So get that out of the way. And we'll do that. All right, let's see now. I don't know if I want these. You know what? Fuck it. Let's just turn everything off. Let's just start from scratch here. Because I feel like if I mess with things like too much, like just moving things around and all, it's really just gonna kind of confuse me. So I don't want to be confused. Okay. We're gonna start with a blank slate here. And let's just do, just for a placeholder for now, let's put this, and then we can figure out things. Yeah. I mean, it's I mean, graphic design is not my forte, so I think a lot of it needs to be maybe I need to kind of simplify things, you know? Like I have such a, like an illustrator brain that I want to turn things into like crazy illustrations, and I think that's something I need to avoid with this one. So let's make things a little more basic this time around. Because really, all it has to do is just like be readable enough that people can, see my schedule, and then on top of that, have it be like, at least eye catching enough that they stop to look at it. So, and then it's going to be my responsibility, of course, to update the damn schedule, which is why why you never saw that image on my socials, is because I kept forgetting to update my schedule. So, all right, background needs to be pretty simple, so it should probably just be some sort of like not too distracting of a pattern. Would probably help. So I'm kind of looking through my materials that I have. Like people make some like really really like, either cute or really like interesting um schedule images, and it's just like, I don't know, it's just not my strong suit. Like I have places where I'm like really like, I got the skills for it and whatnot, but like graphic design is one of those things that never really interested me that much, I guess, as far as art goes, even though it's incredibly useful. All right, let's see. I'm trying to find. There's something I had in mind in particular for the pattern in the background. I'm just looking for it. And yes, I still have not organized my materials, so. It's like I'm always just so tired after like a stream that I'm just like, oh, I'll do it later. And then later never comes, so. Did I already pass it? I probably already passed it and just didn't realize it. It's just kind of like this, like almost like crisscrossing. Oh, wait, here we go. I found him. All right, I was thinking something like maybe like this in the background. Again, I'm just trying to trying to make it more of like a like a graphic background here. So let's rasterize this, and then we can put it maybe up more here. Let me. Oh, that's right. It cuts it off if I rasterize it. So let me go back. And we're just gonna kind of do that way, and then maybe might need to make it slightly bigger. So all these X's are kind of like where they need to be. Trying to like kind of eyeball it, because if I rasterize it, like I said, it's going to cut off the spots that are that are rasterized. Okay, so that's that. And I think now what I'll do, okay, so I'll make a copy because that'll help me out. And then I can rasterize the top one and then have the other one still as an image material if I need it. Let me see what else I want to do with these. And I'm trying to keep in mind my like theme of me being like a quantum VTuber, so I like a lot of like, like space things or things that look like, like energy or energy bursts or, like shifting dimensions, that kind of stuff. But again, I'm trying not to overcomplicate things, so I gotta keep that in mind too. Or maybe like, something with like stars or like, like black holes, that kind of thing. Kind of goes with my theme. But you guys gotta let me know if it starts looking too complicated. Be like, bad Aniki. Calm the fuck down, dude. Kind of just looking through my stuff here. And also kind of like along with the quantum stuff, because like, maybe I could switch it up that like I was born in like a quantum computer or something, so I could have like some kind of like digital stuff or something like that to go with my theme. That also might work out pretty well too. Kind of like, uh, ooh, this looks like a black hole here actually. And if I can get it on the right layer, we can see it. Here we go. That looks pretty neat. And we're gonna lighten up the background because you want the background to be lighter than the foreground. So we'll mess with that in a sec. So that's a pretty cool image. Let's do this. And then maybe we can change that. About difference. Okay, difference doesn't do anything. Divide does, though. So we can do that. And then maybe change. We can change some of the colors around to kind of match some of my colors. So let's try that. It's kind of like one of the colors I like to use. And maybe if I turn down the opacity, duplicate, give it some blur, something like that. Might be kind of neat. And then let's do this so we can lighten things up. Try to figure out a find a gradient map here that I like. Oh, that's kind of cool. Of course, I can change like the blending modes too, so we'll play with that in a minute after I pick one that I think looks kind of good. See you on the other side. Of course, I like to use these a lot of the time. Of course, it makes it look less like a black hole when it's lighter. For sure. That one's kind of neat. It's also kind of neat, but it's also pretty similar. I don't know, I kind of like this kind of looks like the Hawking radiation a little bit, so maybe now we can mess with the different, let's see, what does divide look like? Whoa, that is bright. Exclusion. What about pin light? Pin light looks kind of good. Linear light. Wow, that is super. Difference. Hard light. Or what I could do is have the background be dark and have the foreground be light. That's another option I can do. It's just got to be, you know, opposing basically. Glow dodge. Glow dodge looks kind of cool. Screen. Lighten. And that makes it real dark, so we don't want it that dark. It's also hellaciously dark. I'm kind of thinking, and this can all be changed as we go as well, so. Saturation. Hue. I'm thinking a soft light. Sounds like it's kind of good. I think it maybe lighten for now, and then we'll come back to it. And I also like to do some Perlin noise. Let's do 1. Oh wait, it did it on the galaxy. I don't want that. I want it in its own layer. Filter, probably noise, 1. And then brightness, then we'll bring it down to like 20%. So that lightened it up just a little bit. Okay, so we'll do that for now. So I'm thinking the schedule boxes will go over here on this side about the center here. So I actually may go ahead and make a box so I can see the like a visual representation of where it's going to be. So do new layer. We're gonna fill it. We'll just fill it with blue for now. And let's see if I put like a stroke on it, how it'll look. Like 50, so it's got a big thick one there. And something like that. Lighten, screen. Now let's mess with our layer styles here to see. That's kind of cool. Exclusion. What about pin light? Pin light's kind of crazy. Difference. Hard light, soft lights. Overlay. That makes it kind of really contrasty. Screen, lighten. What about subtract? Ooh, that makes it like hella dark. Makes it like super dark. Unless I bring down the opacity there. Like maybe 50 or so. Actually, let's do it a little bit more than that. Let's do like 40%. And then we'll just leave it like that for now. So I can put my schedule times and stuff over top of this. So we're gonna do, and I think if I remember this last time here, what I did in order to get my, what I was trying to do with having like rounded off edges for the displays is I used a this line tool here. So all right, so just for now, I mean we can always go and like change the colors and stuff too. So, all right, so that needs to be a lot bigger, about 300. Yeah, something like around that would probably be big enough for size. Let me actually duplicate them, and then I might be able to make them a little bit bigger. So let's see, I do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So yeah, I could probably make them a little bit bigger and still fit them. So let's delete this. Let's try. Let's go back to our tool and let's do 400 and see how big that is. Whoops. If I can do it on the right layer. Let's see if I can fit all these. Whoops. Oh my goodness. Gotta give it a little space. And we're gonna bring it down just a little bit. All right. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. That might be slightly too big, but I can change the size if I need to. So let's try this real quick. See if I can like that, and do the centers and vertical spacing, horizontal spacing. Yeah. Alright, so I am going to have to change the size of these just a little bit. So let's scale them in enough that I can get them to fit. Let's do this. Oops, that put them all on the same one. Canvas, that's what I need them. Nope, that did the same damn thing. Alright. Let's see. See if I can do this manually. I'd still have to make them a little smaller. Alright, looks like now we got it about the size it needs to be. Alright, let me make sure that these are all still spaced correctly. Whoa, that's not what I want. That one's fine. They look like they're lined up as far as I can tell. Nope, stop trying to do that. Oh, it's because I have it on canvas. Haha, that's why. Okay, cool. Got them all in the right space. Hey, Kacho, what's up? I'm doing well. I am struggling with graphic design because I am not good at graphic design. So that is my current state. I'm trying to come up with a new schedule like image. So that is, you know, the funnest thing I could possibly try to do, right? Is to work on my weaknesses here. All right, that's too big of a stroke. I kind of want to put some strokes on these, so. But that kind of cuts it off a little bit. Maybe not. Maybe I won't do stroke. Maybe it'll be fine. Turn it off. There we go. Little dancer, keep dancing to my door. Alright, we're going to make that all one layer because that'll actually make it easier for me to do what I need to do. And I'm going to put a little divider like I did before. And if I clip it to this, make it so I can just have some space. Whoa, maybe not that big. That's too big. What about 50? Yeah, that looks good. 50, and then let's see. So that'll have, I gotta make sure that gives me enough space for my text for the days. And of course, this is always gigantic every time I every time I try to text, put some sort of text here. So we're gonna fix that. And we're definitely gonna change the font too. So how's 20? 20 is a little bit small, maybe 40. And then we're going to change this font to a free one that I know I won't get in trouble for using. I think that's what pisses me off the most about graphic design is having to like, I mean, people should get credit for their work, obviously, just like, you know, artists should get credit as well, but it just makes things like a huge pain in the ass, especially since like, you know, I downloaded a bunch of them and then I don't know if I lost like the credits thing or what, or I just like misplaced it on my computer or something. I don't know. So I don't remember like who made them now. But it's always like the thing that like always discourages me from doing like graphic design stuff. I gotta find ones that I know that are free that are just like not gonna like get me in trouble here. I mean, this is something, of course, I can worry about like way later, like when I'm like a bigger streamer and somebody people are actually like looking at me. Let's see, Mac Effects, I think, is a free one. And hopefully this whole thing doesn't end up like looking worse than the, the one I just originally had here. So we still got a lot of like, you know, room, a lot of wiggle room here. So what does this look like? Oh my god, that doesn't even look like it doesn't even look like a letter anymore. It's Destro. Then there's like 100 million freaking fonts. Oh my goodness. It's not like the best font in the world, but I know I might just use this Mech Effects. I think Mech Effects is probably okay to use. And then we're definitely gonna change the colors on this, so we don't want it to look like the background. So for now, what I'll do is put it to black, and then we'll do the edge as white. I just need to make sure that this stuff like reads really well from a distance. And let's bring this down to like 5. We'll look a little bit cleaner. All right, might need to make it a little smaller. Try 35. All right, maybe 30 was actually okay. Oops. About 30. All right, that kind of fits. Maybe 20. Let's do 26. That looks like it fits pretty neatly in there. All right, and then we can duplicate. Bring this down. Thursday. Well, you know what I could do? Maybe I can do them as... No. That's probably fine. And then if I move this over just a little bit... I don't know. I don't know if I need these to be like abbreviated or if I should just put the letters. Oops. I don't know. My brain just does not like it just does not compute with graphic design for some reason. Wednesday, Friday. I don't know, the 4 letters in this one's kind of throwing me off, so I don't know, maybe I'll change that. This is where I need Alex, the master of graphic design. Yeah, if I can... Hold on, let's go back to this and put it like... Maybe it'll be okay with just this TU. Alright, so let's do this, that, and that. And then let's kind of, oops. Do that, and we'll select all of them, and then shit. And I kind of want them to like line up a little bit with this. I don't know why Monday still seems kind of big and Wednesday still seems kind of big. They don't really look like they're lined up. Did it lie to me with my alignment that I had going on here? See, now Friday's the one that's off. Alright, maybe... I don't know why. Friday just looks so much smaller than the others. Oh, no, that brings that over too much now. Oh, man. Alright, that's probably fine. Right? I don't know. Oh, man. I'm so bad at this. Alright, let me actually move Friday back a little bit. And then we'll see. Nope. And that brings that all over that way. Son of a bitch. I'm so bad at this. Alright, that's probably fine. We're gonna say that that's fine for now. People are gonna be like, what freaking amateur did this for Aniki? And it's gonna just be me. I'm that amateur. Alright, let's see. I'm gonna do my purling noise on here that I like to do. So let's do 2 on this. And brightness. And turn that down to like 20%. so that's that. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So let me put these all in a folder. So this will be days, text. Gotta keep everything organized here, or I will go nuts. So what's this? That's those. So this, and so this is going to be all background. So do BG, not GB, BG. Lisdexia much. I'm not Lisdexic. I don't know what you're talking about. And then let's see. So that's that. So we're gonna do days BG. That, so that's good. And then this is that is through, and BG2. Nope, that was an at, not a 2. So anybody who's like watching this stream, like, I should learn how to do this, and Aniki's gonna teach me. You're in the wrong place. I'm not good at this. All right, so let's see. Difference. I kind of want to look at some options here with this. Divide looks kind of nice on that. And your heart, like this side, burning with the devil's heart. I kind of almost want to put a different color for this part of it. So let's do that, and that, and then we'll what other colors do I usually have? This actually might look good. This might look a little bit better. I think that looks a little bit better. And then I can mess with my exclusion. Looks like dookie. Vivid light looks alright. Difference also looks like dookie. Overlay. Screen. Alright, that's nice and light. So that looks pretty good. Trying to see if this makes a difference. Do through. Oh, that kind of does like a cool effect. So let's see. Kind of mess with things here. Divide. That looks kind of nice. I mean exclusion. Sorry. Pin light. Linear light. Vivid light. Difference. Hard light. Soft light. overlay. And low touch screen. I don't know. I kind of want to give it at least a little bit of a transparency to it. I think that would look good. Playing with matches. Oh, magic, not matches. Maybe screen. Screen, I think, looks okay. And we can still see it from a distance here. Alright, so not that. And I think what I'll do for the actual what's going on here is I'll use the same font because I really don't honestly feel like finding a different font. Let's see. What do I want to do next Monday? I don't think I have enough submissions yet in the OC art raffle to do that, which is maybe I'll do. Oh no, I was gonna do some more Code Vein. That's what I'll do. I'm also doing Code Vein later tonight again with Havoc, but that will be on her channel. We are trying to figure out how to do the collaboration streams because there's a way that we can both like simul stream. I just haven't figured it out yet. But when I do, that'll be cool. So Code Vein. Maybe I should put like gaming or something. And then I can put art in front of the ones where like I'm actually doing art. So Code Vein, I'll probably do that Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday I'll do some art. Ooh, maybe I'll do like a Code Vein fan art. That might be kind of cool to work on. Maybe like do some of the characters. That'd be fun to do. And that's definitely going to take more than one stream because I generally take a long time to do art because I get excited about it. Let's do duplicate, and then we'll do, for this one, of course, Saturdays are always the art share. Not chare. Alright, hell yeah. Alright, so I can take these. Let's pull them out of this folder so I can put them in their own folder. And of course they went into a different folder like I don't want them to. There we go. Alright, so let's see. Streams, text. What is this song? That was the Gazette. They use some weird stuff sometimes. Oh, I like this song. What you doing wrong? You the notice when you're in the moment. we go. Get those lined up. Alright, so that looks pretty good on that side here. I'm almost wondering if this pattern's a little too distracting. Of course, there's going to be a picture of me over here, so it might be covered up, but you're stressing me out. Let's turn this down to like 30%. Maybe even more, maybe 20%. Exclusion look like? Oh, okay. That actually might be a little bit better. Difference. What about something like lighten? That looks a little bit better. Or brightness, maybe. Still stressing me out. And I might change some of the colors on like the text and stuff here. I haven't decided yet, so. Alright, and I liked kind of having like the idea of like a little circle for having my portrait in. Rather do than make you fucking proud, give you something brand new. Let's put this above that. This is stressing me out. And let's put this. Canvas, and then align it that way, and align it that way. And maybe give it like 2. There we go. And that way I can draw inside that. And we can maybe do something where like maybe a little bit of this black hole in the back will like show through or something in the background to it. Show. Let me figure out a pose for myself. Body type. And let's just use August. There, and we'll have it so let's clip to that. Let's see. What would be a good pose for this, for like a portrait? Maybe not that one. Not that one. I don't know, maybe like I'm dashing into stream or something. Nah. Maybe not that. Okay. That doesn't really make sense. Hmm. Looking. I mean, I feel like my streams are pretty chill, and I'm a pretty happy guy, so no, maybe not that. It's kind of funky. I don't really have my arms crossed too much here. Huh. On a key there it says TEU instead of YUE. Oh, is it the other way? I always do that. I don't know why. Maybe. All right, hold on. Sorry. VTuber can't spell. Newsflash. There we go. Thank you. I'm so bad at that. A little sass pose here. Yeah, the dyslexia really does not do me any favors. Do like a cool guy lean. Yeah. No. Of course, I could always do the studio trigger like cool gyna expose. That would be cool too. I do love. It would be kind of cool to draw myself as like a trigger style, actually. Because I love trigger so much. Let's see. Studio trigger pose. Or it doesn't necessarily even have to be the arms crossed. I do like the arms crossed though. You know what? I have freaking Sushio's book like right in front of me. Let's see. Kill the Kill. It's mostly. Oh, here we go. We got some Gurren logins. That'll help me out. Oh, that's pretty good. It's pretty good Kamino one. It's pretty similar to the last image I had, but if I do it in trigger style, it'll be better. Still looking. Got a lot of. This book is nice and thick. I love this song so much. It's so hype. If I do it in trigger style, I don't have to render it as much either. Should be nice. Oh my god, there's so much to choose from. Sushio is just like Senpai is the goat. I like his self portraits. They're so funny. Poor Sushio does not look like that in real life. I mean, he kind of does, but everybody always draws the idealized version of themselves, so I am certainly guilty of that. Alright, these are. By the way, if you guys want an awesome art book, this book is amazing. It is called Sushio the Idol. It is an absolutely just like fantastic god tier art book. All right, what I'm thinking is I might use this pose and try to do it like in the trigger style. So I think that's probably what we'll go for here. Kind of bring it in a little bit and turn it a little bit maybe. Maybe we can turn it this way so we can see more of the pose and some more of the hair. I like to do like some somewhat dynamic angles here. Something like that. And gotta get my actual model up here so I have my own reference. Get off the screen. Alright, get my model up here. Image material. Copy. And paste. I'll put it over here so I can see kind of the areas I need. All right, now we can start sketching. Oh yeah, for sure. Like I have a self-insert character in my webtoon as well. Uh, while they are like a powerful character, they do have like, of course, like some weaknesses to make it so they're not just like super OP. Because I don't want them to be able to just absolutely like shithouse like every single fight that they come across. So, but I've Havoc here is my writer, so I've got an excellent writer to handle all that for me. So the only thing that sucks about like drawing using like art books is like being able to keep it open in front of me. Can I use Kamina here as like a, or maybe even Keaton actually as a reference. Actually, this is kind of close to the pose. Yeah, I think like the main like ability for like my self insert character is he has like pretty good like regenerative abilities. That's like the main strength of him, I guess. I mean, yeah, he's got like super strength too, because like he's not human exactly, but um, less human and a lot more made to kill. Forgot Sushi Ojo's like the nibbles on the characters. Love crafting color sushi. Nice. It's because Cacho is awesome. That's why. That's why they get it. Oh yeah, the skull and crossbones. Oh my god, I lost my mouse. Where's my mouse? There it is. See, Sushio like really exaggerates the forearm area here and the elbow. And the good news is my eyes kind of slope like Kamina's a little bit anyway, so that's always helpful. Just gotta find one that works for me. That looks terrible. figure out exactly how this will work a little bit better as like a trigger shape face here. Oops. Why? That's a little bit better. I think I need Keaton for some eyebrow references because I have thicker eyebrows. Pepsi with bamboo flavor. That doesn't sound very good. It's like, yeah, let me suck on wood. That sounds like a great flavor, right? that's a good initial sketch there for the body. Now I just gotta make it look like me. And I gotta move the eyes here. Okay. All right, let's do this. So we can now do my facial hair and my hair. Actually, let's get the hairline going. You know, I should actually drink some water. That would help. That would be ideal, right? I can't wait to draw my 2.0 model. I'm excited for that. I don't know if I like those eyes. I might change them. I'm definitely going to make my hair a little less ridiculous on the next model. I think it's a little, maybe a little too complex. Just a tad. Yeah, definitely have to change those eyes. I think I might make the mouth a little bit bigger. Alright, let's get a sketch for the clothes now. I know Trigger tends to simplify their outfits quite a bit, so I'll probably do that. Make the shoulder pads big and exaggerated, of course. Yeah, I gotta change the eyes. The eyes look weird. I can fix that though. Alright, that's pretty much the jacket. Most part. just kind of sketching. Now we can do like our finalized. And then we'll do kind of like a basic chain, and where I have my Milner, get kind of big and exaggerated. Let's do another color for the shirt underneath. That. And then I got my gloves. Probably do that in the same layer. It's not a big deal. And we're just gonna hella simplify still. There we go. Then we'll have like the pants here. And let's see the back of the jacket. It'll connect there. And then there's like a tassel thing that kind of hangs down back here. All right. So let's turn this stuff off. We'll do the finalized lines for the body first. And I think I'm gonna fix the eyes, of course. So we're gonna leave them there for now until I do the final lines, and then we can fix it from there. Don't need this layer now. Oops. Oh my goodness. If I can do lines. Trying to make sure they still have like some energy to the lines like Sushio does. He does kind of like some broken line work here and there, or it doesn't connect all the way, so it might help me out. Debating whether I want to do the heavy shading version that they do sometimes. I might do that. Yeah. Let's make this a little bigger, so exaggerate. Oh my goodness. Struggling. Maybe if I do it this way. I don't normally. You know what? I'm gonna leave the nipples off. I don't normally draw nipples on my anime style people. It's so hard to capture like the trigger energy with the line works. That's okay though. Alright, so we got those. Oh, except for this here. A little higher out there so there's more of a skull. Let's go ahead and save. Alright, I'm going to do a separate layer here to see if I can get these like eyes to look decent. Maybe need a little more of a tilt there. Maybe I'll just draw them the way I normally draw. I don't know why I'm struggling so much with the eyes today. Jeez. Having a moment. Maybe I'll get the eyebrows at least. And then I actually have like a slash through here. when I don't take the time to comb my eyebrows IRL. Maybe I'll do a little guide sketch underneath. That might help. Like it's looking up. It looks so freaky. Freaky. Alright, do a separate layer here. Yeah, I'll just draw the way I usually draw these. Oh yeah, looks better already. This looks weird, actually. This one a little bit bigger. There, that looks a lot better. There you go. Way better. All right, let me go ahead and save. All right, let's get the facial hair. That's right, I did. Started drawing it like this. And since we're not doing the crazy rendering here, because we're gonna do more like Studio Trigger like, go ahead and just fill that in. Go, so we don't lose that detail, and round the eyelash a little bit there. Actually, this can go more this way. So kind of, it's a little more even, and bring this. let's close it off for a sec so we can just do this number. So glad I don't just have a chin strap. It looks so bad. Sorry, chin strap guys. It never looks good. Never does it look good. Yeah, the Jigen beard. It's because Jigen is the shit. Jigen's the only one allowed to have a chin strap. Exactly. There are men that have body hair, so we do exist. There we go. We got the beard. Yeah. We're all mammals. All right, let's get the lines for the hair. Punch the monkey. No, punch. It's so sad every time. It's like never have I felt so like angry towards animals for just being animals. Poor little Punch. He's so cute. Also, that's like a super cute name for a monkey. Monkey, monkey, monkey. Stop. Give me the eraser. Jeez. Alright, getting there. I figure I'll at least try to get like lines done. And then I can pick this up again on uh, maybe later. Or maybe I'll finish it off stream. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I feel like doing. Alright, so turn that off. That's fine. That I could turn the sketch layer off for that. Once I find it, there we go. And let's erase away some of these lines so we can combine some of our layers here. Keep at least the eyebrows through because that's like super anime, you know. That's okay. Although we're gonna do a little bit of a cut into this eyebrow here so you can see. No, stop. Is it this layer? Is this? No, not that layer. I didn't label my layers. I'm the worst. There we go. Or at least do so you can kind of see where the hair goes in here. Why is there? What layer is that on? Oh, it's actually this. There we go. So see that kind of going through it a little bit. All right, let's do the jacket now. Find my sketch lines for that. What did I do them? They're there. And I'll do it in a different color here so I can see what I'm doing. And then I'll combine the color back in. Again, trying to keep some energy to the lines here. I know when I'm done it's not going to look like super trigger, but we're going to get it, you know, as close as possible. It's definitely easier than doing like a massively rendered image that will take me like, you know, like a week or something. Not trying to do that. That works. Help if I erase some of these lines. Don't really need those. Again, we're going to leave the lines not exactly perfect. All right, got that. All right, and I'm going to wait till the end to do the lines there on that part for the glow parts. It's a little bit of a change it there, but I think it'll be okay. Speaking of Gurren Lagann, hell yeah. I always say, if you're feeling depressed, watch Gurren Lagann. Then you'll take a drill and you will smash it through all of your issues, all your problems. Nothing will be able to stop you as long as you have spiral power. Depressed? I got a drill for that. There we go. We can fix the tangent just a little bit. Right here. little bit of tangent here. Let's fix that. Let's try it all the way through, just so I know. Sounds so ridiculous. Oh god. Rolling that skinny like Olsen twins. I didn't even notice that lyric. That's so bad. Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Well, cocaine and probably like Ozempic. Ozempic is something I would absolutely never do. That's why I am exercising. I would rather have like some like, some excess skin from losing weight than look like a horrifying mummy. All right, and got a little tassel that hangs in the back. Actually, I got one in the front here I always forget about too. Let me go ahead and get that. I always forget this one. It's pretty bad I forget parts of my own design. May make my next model a little less complicated. I've gotten better at character design since then, so. And then I got one that comes behind. So I can kind of do this number. All right, I think that's everything for the jacket. So now I can go underneath and, I mean, technically I could just put colors over it, but I think I'm going to combine all the lines together. So let's go ahead and just erase away where the jacket covers. course, it's always good to, you know, to draw the stuff underneath, even if it's going to be covered, because that way you know exactly like how the clothing is like going to lay, what it has to go over, you know, that kind of thing. So you don't just want to draw straight over it, unless like you're an absolute like, you know, just a G at it, you know, what you're 100% how everything's gonna like rest over that part. I would still recommend, you know, to draw the body like underneath. And let's do the same here because some of this beard is going to be covered by this. Oops. And some of this hair here. Let me get some more of the neck out of the way. What's this? That. It's the beard. Okay, so there's still a little bit on the beard here. And then that's the hair. There we go. And then we can also get right here for the hair. And this strand is going to come in front. Find the right layer. Where's the jacket layer? I didn't label my layers. I'm the worst. There we go. And we can go through and we can clean this up a little bit. I got a little more sloppy on the jacket here. I was hoping to finish all the lines, but I do have to do like a lot of cleanup here, so maybe I'll call this here in a sec. Plus I'm getting hungry, so that doesn't help. Oh yeah, there's a lot to clean up. All right, I think I'm actually gonna call that here. So let me go ahead and make this nice and big to see what we've done so far. So I got this. Probably end up going to, you know, adjust a lot of the like colors and stuff. Make sure everything like reads really well, so I can have a legitimate like, you know, schedule here. I'll probably go through and fix some of like this line work. Hi, buddy. I'm almost done. I'm wrapping up now. Let me go ahead and throw you guys in the lobby here so we can do a wrap up. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today while I worked on my new schedule image here. It means a lot. I am, of course, going to be streaming tomorrow because we have the Saturday Art Share stream. For those of you who don't know, I have a pinned post on my Blue Sky profile. You can drop your artwork there with some brief lore or comments on it, and I will show your artwork off to the world. I do that every single Saturday. If you like the kind of content I do, please follow me to see when I go live. Consider subscribing, that would help me out tremendously. By the way, I also have a 50% off on my VGen um, art commissions. So if you want to check that out, that would be great. Help me get verified there. I will catch you guys tomorrow. I hope you have a great rest